All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. In this video, we're going to talk about the lightweight division after the fantastic performance by Shakur Stevenson. Jeff Mayweather gives his 2 cents on who he thinks is the best guy in those divisions, the 130 and 135 pound division. And hint, it ain't Shakur Stevenson, it's Gervonta Tank Davis. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanan. We're going to be in the lightweight, super featherweight, lightweight division for this particular boxing discussion. Shakur Stevenson had an excellent fight last night, beat Oscar Valdez pretty much the way that I thought the fight would go, and to be honest, the way a lot of people thought the fight would go. Masterclass boxing clinic put on by him. Definitely shows that he is a guy that deserves to be in the pound for pound conversation. Jeff Mayweather, the uncle of Floyd Mayweather Jr., the brother of Floyd Mayweather Sr., and the late, great, you don't know ish about boxing, Roger Mayweather, gave his 2 cents about who he thought really, though, was the best fighter in those weight classes. Before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're a longtime subscriber, thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support on the channel. If you're new to the channel, accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. All right, so here we go. Gervonta Davis is the man, according to according to Jeff Mayweather. And I swear I'm going to do a good job in this video and never, because I only do one take. Don't do a lot of edits, just one take. It is what it is at the end of the video. But I am chronically mixing the name up between Jeff Mayweather and his older brother, the late great Black Mamba. You don't know ish about boxing, Roger Mayweather. But Jeff Mayweather was asked, what did he think about Shakur Stevenson's performance, and how would he put, Shakur Stevenson up there as far as who's the best guys at 130, 135 pounds. And his take was very interesting, and it's something that I think most people, I think it makes a lot of sense. He said Shakur Stevenson is in the fight with Oscar Valdez, did what he was supposed to do, did what he thought he would do, just had a masterful boxing performance, outboxed him, didn't get hit very much. Went to the body, wore him down, and pretty much took the guy's gas tank away and got out of there, with a win. Oscar Valdez is a very, very good fighter, definitely a top fighter. So that win with Shakur Stevenson should not be minimized in any way, shape, or form. Now, as far as when he was at who was the best at those weight classes, he said, look, man, the difference between Shakur Stevenson and the difference between, Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and the light of those. And it was really interesting to listen to him talk about Ryan Garcia and, treat Ryan Garcia with some respect. Like, this dude is one of these guys in that division that is going to be a dangerous fighter for anybody. And I do believe that about Ryan Garcia. But he said, look, the difference between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis is that Gervonta Davis totes power in both his hands. And while Shakur Stevenson is an excellent, excellent fighter, he doesn't have the power that Gervonta Davis has. He also talked about Devin Haney in this video and in another video and said pretty much the same thing, which is also the reason why he picked George Kambosos to beat Devin Haney. Because he said, look, man, Devin Haney is going to need a knockout to beat George Kambosos in Australia, and he's more than likely not going to get it because that's the one thing that he doesn't have. He doesn't have knockout power. He doesn't have punching power. And but the thing with Gervonta Davis is that Gervonta Davis can knock people out with either hand, and no matter how technical the fight is going to be, if these guys get in the ring, Gervonta Davis, when he hits you, something's going to happen. And that is the difference between Shakur and Gervonta Davis. So he puts Gervonta Davis up there as the top guy in those weight classes. And I'm going to tell you, man, after watching the fight with Oscar Valdez, I agree. I think that it would be very difficult for Shakur Stevenson to fight that style of fight with Gervonta Davis and get away with it. Staying in the pocket close to him, making him miss, and then countering with like pot shots, and keeping a jab in front of his face, kind of occupy his hands. With Gervonta Davis, there's a lot of stuff coming back at you, and on top of it, he's a very, very fast, talented, very, very skilled fighter as well. It would be a southpaw and southpaw matchup. And man, it would just be very, very, very interesting fight to have. And I also believe that is what Shakur Stevenson thinks as well, because when Shakur was asked, this is maybe a couple months ago, when he was talking about who he wants to fight, he would say, like talking about, I'm not going to name any particular fighter, who the fighters are, anybody other than Gervonta Davis. His reaction was like, yeah, really good fight. It'd be an exciting fight. I think I can win. I'll win the fight. But when he talks about fighting Gervonta Davis, like, man, that would be a classic fight. Or like, man, that is something with Gervonta Davis. And I pretty much think, man, that I agree with that assessment. I think those two guys are the top talents in that 130 and the 135-pound division. For me, I think Shakur Stevenson, the only people Shakur Stevenson I think is going to have a lot of problems with. I think he'll have problems with Gervonta Davis because of the southpaw and the southpaw matchup, and the fact that Gervonta Davis is not much shorter than him. They're right around the same size, but Gervonta, I think maybe Shakur has a little bit bigger reach, but Gervonta Davis's hand speed, I think maybe actually a little bit faster than Shakur Stevenson, and that punching power is most definitely more significant than Shakur Stevenson's punching power. But at the same time, he's obviously going to have to hit him with it. The other person is Vasily Lomachenko, because again, it's that southpaw matchup, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments can be made. But the volume punching, I think, of Vasily Lomachenko, well, actually, the more you punch, the more openings there are for Shakur to counter you. But he's not as busy as Vasily Lomachenko, and honestly, I don't think he's as busy as or presses as hard as Gervonta Davis. But I do have Shakur Stevenson beating Lomachenko. I have Shakur Stevenson beating Devin Haney. And the reason that I think he'll beat Devin Haney is because I think it's much more of a fight similar to Floyd Mayweather Jr. Zab Judah, where the guy that really has the game to walk you down and force you into a fight while making you miss at the same time is Shakur Stevenson. And I think Shakur Stevenson would bring the fight to Devin Haney, and as a result of that, really wouldn't be in a lot of trouble with what's coming back, because Devin Haney is really not a big puncher. So he doesn't have to be overly cautious with Devin. Where in the case with Gervonta Davis, he has to be very, very cautious. Now, Gervonta, on the other hand, doesn't have to be as cautious with Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson also is not a one-punch knockout type of guy. Now, I will tell you that I think Shakur Stevenson has good power, right? I think he has better power than Devin Haney does. I think he probably, on a one-punch type of scenario, has more power than Vasily Lomachenko does. And honestly, man, the way he delivers it, so short, so crisp, right in between your shots, with not a lot of wasted movement, with the leverage that he gets on it, is a very, very good puncher. But I just think Gervonta probably would not have to worry about that and can afford as much as Shakur did, and would be forcing Shakur more to fight on the back foot. And considering there's not that big a height and size difference between the two, I lean towards Gervonta. But I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, I could be wrong. Without a doubt, Shakur Stevenson is most definitely a special fighter and may prove any and everybody wrong and beat everybody in that weight class. But I think we're in a good situation. I can't wait I hope that Shakur Stevenson is able to actually get the fights at 130 quickly, so he can become undisputed and get into that mix at 135 before too long. And these guys can mix it up, because I think that division is just so hot. There's so many dudes in that division to make so many great fights that eventually these fights are going to get made one way or the other. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.